I am not there to expose them. I'm not there to disrespect them. That's just not the type of interviewer I am. I will not be partaking in any arguments that do not better the political landscape of Wales. Now, when I sit down for an interview or when I even do a video like this, I am going to get my information from the source. And I think it's important that I do get it from the sources. I'm not going to regurgitate other people's opinions. I need to present something that is fresh, maybe from a fresh perspective. And you know what? You don't have to agree with me. And I'm perfectly fine with you critiquing me. I'm perfectly fine with the criticisms, with the judgments. That's absolutely fine. But I am not going to partake in it because I believe that Wales doesn't need more noise. It needs change, radical change. But it needs peace. And this is something that Ben Habib said to me, is that we need radical change in a peaceful mode. And I've bought into that because I think at the minute, these elections, it's becoming toxic. And it's people fighting people and all this type of stuff. And to a certain extent, maybe I fed into that. But I think it's important to understand that when I am sitting down with someone, I am not responsible for what they say. I'm responsible for what I say. And so I will not be partaking in argument. I'm here to listen and I'm here to find the truth. Matthew, what do you think about it?
I think it says a lot when guests have come on and they've said afterwards that they came in with an expectation of you and who you are and what they were to expect in the interview, and then they left with a different perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair to say, is that you're not confrontational, and this has been a critique in many ways that some people have said, oh, she hasn't confronted so-and-so with this and X, Y, and Z. Well, it's just like, well, that's not the purpose in what you're doing.
No.
Just because you want to argue X doesn't mean you have to bring up Y. And people don't get that because they're used to kind of gotcha politics, aren't they? They're used to journalists, just trying to pull the rug out from their interviewees and nail them to the wall on whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're like that.
No.
And there's been lots of criticism as well, saying, we're waiting for your Plaid interviews and your Labour interviews, and. Well, do you want to explain why?
We have tried. I mean, the amount of candidates that we have emailed, and even the leaders of these parties, we have emailed to say, will you sit down with us? And we have received nothing. There's even been some Plaid candidates who have commented on my Facebook, and publicly I have commented back saying that I would love to have them on the show. Absolute radio silence. And I think this is the problem, is that, and I think this is a problem with Reform as well, because their communications department are not getting back to us. And I have talked to some Reform candidates, not on camera, and all of them have said the same thing, that their communications department will not allow them to sit down and do interviews. That to me is shocking. I think as Welsh people, we have the right to know what is going on behind the scenes, who these candidates are, how they're operating. There does need to be a level of transparency. And I also think as well, I think you agree with me on this, Matthew, is that when I interview someone, and, I do acknowledge I'm not this controversial interviewer when they're sitting down with me, my task and what my goal is in that moment is to ask questions which gives them free rein to say what they feel, what they think, and what they believe. And with that information, I can come to an opinion about that party, that person. I am not there to expose them. I'm not there to disrespect them. That's just not the type of interviewer I am. And so if you're looking for that type of interview, controversial, then you're going to have to look somewhere else, because it's just not who I am. Neil McAvoy is the perfect example of that. It was one of my first interviews. Yep. Do you want to tell him about that one? Because he had a boo about me coming in.
Well, I think that was still early on in this whole process for us, wasn't it? And I think he's who I'm referring to with my previous comment. I think he'd seen a lot of the what people were saying, the negativity about, you're this right-wing mouthpiece, reform plant, blah, blah, blah. And he came in with a very specific not a confrontational expectation, but
No.
it was there, and then he left with a completely different one. You
Yeah.
know, and
And even, the ones who I do have similar views to, they still came with a level of expectation of how controversial I was going to be. And as well, left having a completely different view of me. And this isn't because I'm trying my hardest to get them on my side. I'm not. I am just giving them space to say what they believe. I believe the Welsh people have that right to hear what these people have to say without me bringing my beliefs and opinions to the forefront. Is there times I want to push back? Of course. But sometimes it's just not appropriate, and I have to bring a level of respect to the table in order to have a free-flowing conversation, because I think because it's not in my nature to be controversial or confrontational with people, I think it would, I don't know, Matthew, what would you say? It would look really bizarre, I think.
yeah, well, it's not beneficial to the end result of the conversation. You want to find that information, and
Yes.
if you go in with blah, 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 then they're going to put up walls, and they're not going to be able to share what's on their heart. Now, so I think another criticism that you've had is that you use a lot of verbal nods.
Yeah, all the time,
Yes.
sorry.
So yeah. But people interpret that as, oh, I'm in agreement. I'm in constant agreement with what they're saying, which is not necessarily the case. You're there to listen, and you're there to find out what they want to say.
Yeah.
And I think you do quite well in that. You put them at ease,
Yes.
and you get that information from them. And
Yeah. I think it does
yeah.
look like sometimes I'm in agreement with them, but probably it's a learned behaviour because one of my sons has speech and language issues. And so I've learned that verbal nod is the way that he understands things, and if I don't do a verbal nod, he doesn't know if I understand him. So it's kind of a learned behaviour. So please take that as not agreement, but it's just it's just a verbal nod, isn't it? It just is what it is. And I do a lot of it, so I do understand that. And sorry if that puts you off, but I can't help myself. My producers and Matthew are always telling me, stop nodding, stop saying yes, because it looks like agreement, but it's natural right now. And so it's going to take a lot of exercise to stop.
But you know what, Faith? It's who you are,
Yeah.
and who you are is doing well at what you do. So we've
you.
got no problem.
Yeah, thank you. So that's all that's left to say from this one is don't look to the left, don't look to the right, look at Britain. Because I don't do arguments.